Good evening and welcome school committee members and members of the administration. It is 7:26 p.m. I'd like to call to order the public session of the April 1st, 2025 school committee special meeting here in the school committee conference room of the Stoughton Public Schools District Office at 31 Pierce Street in Stoughton. We have a quorum present. This meeting is being recorded by SMAC for future broadcasting. Please rise if you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. The main item on our agenda tonight is the superintendent succession planning process. Would you like to give a overview of the timeline, Lindsay, just to explain how we got to where we are now?
Yeah, or Chris, do you want to, or I'm asking because we had worked on the succession planning, criteria and everything.
Let me
Oops,
bring
if you
that up. I'm sorry. I printed it off and then left it in the printer.
Do you want your mic, Chris?
Yeah, I will. Hold on. I wasn't quite prepared for that. I should have been.
What I can stall. Actually, I have a couple things I can say, Chris, if that's
Okay. Go
okay.
For it.
Sorry, I should have started with that. That wasn't very effective stalling. But so this has been a really clear process that we started back in January. Chris is going to voice a lot of that over. But starting with the superintendent's recommendation and with the committee identifying really clear criteria for moving forward with a candidate. As folks know, we unanimously voted to appoint high school principal Julie Miller on March 4th, pending successful contract negotiations. So the original proposal of the working group, I think in that timeline, was actually that we would vote to approve the contract at the March 11th meeting. So obviously we are a little bit behind schedule, but I think that is okay because what we can say is that we are really confident as the working group with Armando on the negotiation process. I think we can say we are really confident that this contract is solid. It's been vetted. In particular, I think Armando has had some really thoughtful questions along the way. Chris, you've cut several areas where language could be clearer, so just appreciate that. The contract we have would begin on July 1st, 2026. Principal Miller would still be the high school principal for the 25-26 school year, during which time she would find her replacement as Stoughton High School principal and receive on-the-job training to step into the superintendent role. In particular, she's been invited by the MASS, which is the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, to begin the NSIP, the new superintendent induction program, which is a mentoring program, during the 25-26 school year, meaning she would get a year of mentoring and training with superintendents to further build out her skills, which Armando and I have asked Joe to include or Dr. Baeta, sorry, to include as an addendum in her principal contract for next year. So I also just want to share gratitude to Julie because this has been a really collaborative and thoughtful process. I've really enjoyed working with her. She's been very solutions oriented, reasonable, and committed to what's best for students throughout the process. And it was just a real pleasure to work with her on this contract. So it was
Successful
Chris,
stalling.
yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So we did just want to provide an overview of the process for the public in case you are curious, but didn't necessarily want to go through months and months of school committee meeting agendas and minutes to try and figure out what the timeline was. We thought it'd be helpful to kind of codify it here. So during our January 28th, 2025 meeting, Dr. Baeta announced his intent to resign for the purposes of retirement, effective June 30th, 2026, and recommended an internal candidate, Julie Miller, vouching for experience and suitability for the role. We did not vote to accept this that night, but instead deferred to the next meeting to allow a succession working group to form and identify a clear process and a set of selection criteria. And the chair nominated or assigned, I guess, appointed. Appointed. I'm like, there's a word there somewhere. Lindsay and myself to that working group to create a process and to create the criteria. So on the February 11th meeting, we presented a set of criteria that we identified, that we determined a candidate, if they met the criteria would be qualified, based on the criteria, and that also it sets a precedent for a process moving forward for future school committees, which we thought might be a helpful legacy for us to leave behind. And then after the meeting, the chair worked with the school committee members to develop interview questions. And also we talked about behavioral interviewing approaches. So rather than just having a set of questions to submit to scenarios for the candidate to respond to give us a stronger sense of how she might act in either one of those situations and the different aspects of her role. For example, the academic integrity or the financial implications or the need to partner with the town or with nonprofit agencies in the area to work towards solutions, as well as communications. How she would approach all of those. So we presented that to the candidate. On the 25th, we publicly interviewed Principal Julie Miller for the role. On March 4th, we did vote unanimously to appoint Julie Miller as the superintendent pending successful contract negotiations. And then at that point, Madam Chair, I believe you assigned Lindsay to act on behalf of the school committee in the negotiations process. On the 11th, we discussed negotiations in the executive session. And then we've been discussing pretty much ever since. And then finally today, I believe we've come to agreement around the contract itself that we want to present and offer to Julie Miller. So did I miss anything in the process?
No, I think you covered it, but yes. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So just for the public's sake, this is a process that did start toward the end of January. So this is not something that's happened, in the dark. It's not something that's happened like over the past few weeks. This has been in process for several months. And I think we feel very comfortable with this understanding that there are some bumps and some growth opportunities that we will definitely keep in mind to pass down with our legacy documents for the next school committee that has to go through this process. So.
Thank you so much, Chris. I
a
didn't
lot
mean
of
to
talking.
put you on the spot, but
I
that
need a
was
cookie.
so great. So with that said, I think I would like to make a motion that the school committee ratify this contract for our next superintendent, Juliet Miller, beginning July 1st, 2026.
I think I have the official language. They approve the Stoughton Public Schools contract of employment for the superintendent of schools, Ms. Juliet Miller, effective July 1st,
I
2026.
will adopt that language for my motion. Thank you.
That is the language that I have from the lawyer. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
All right, a second for Chris. Now, at this point, I'll ask, it's been moved and seconded, but I'll ask for questions, a discussion, another motion.
I would definitely count a motion
Okay.
that the contract negotiations be delayed until the voters have a chance to make their decision on 2 new school committee members. And they have an opportunity to have a say in the superintendent that they are going to be responsible for with the 3 remaining school committee members.
All right, thank you, Karen. We have a counter motion from Karen. Do I have a second for that counter motion? All right, hearing none, that motion fails, but we do have this one on the table, and I open up for questions or read. I do want to thank Lindsay and Armando as well, who did a good amount of proofreading and kind of questioning of the contract, as well as our lawyer, Joe Emerson. I do think that this contract offers Ms. Miller a lot of security, offers us has some good financial benefits for us over the 3, potentially 4 years. And so I do appreciate your work on this. Any other questions, comments? Armando?
No, we've gone through it. We've gone through it, we've debated, and the horse is out of the barn.
Anything else? All right, so we have a motion on the table. It's been seconded. Are we ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
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 I believe this contract is overinflated. I don't think it's good for the taxpayers, and my vote is absolutely not. We should have had more discussion on the financial side of it. Yes to Ms. Miller, no to the contract.
All right, thank you, Karen. So this motion is carried 4-1. This means that the contract is ratified. And we look forward to introducing Ms. Miller as the superintendent-elect at the next meeting, which will be on Tuesday, April 15th. Again, I'd like to thank Ms. Miller as well as Dr. Beta for their help in the process. I do want to be clear that Dr. Beta was very ethical, and we really appreciate him, helping us as he could, but also Ms. Miller, thank you for your work in this. Again, thanks to our attorney, Joe Emerson, Lindsay Chris on the process, Lindsay Armando, the whole committee. Thank you for your thoughtfulness, your diligence, and your time for the process. I really appreciated all the feedback that you were able to give during this. And with that, the next meeting is Tuesday, April 15th at 7 p.m. here in the conference room at the district offices at 31 Pierce Street. Town election is April 8th, just in case anybody hasn't heard that yet. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A motion made by Chris, a second.
Second.
Seconded by Lindsay. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so this is carried 5-0. This motion is adjourned at 7:38. And for my final time, thank everyone for coming and good night.
Again, you